It's very likely that you have seen or heard one of our shiny helicopters flying over Manitou County. Why do we do this? And why is it important when it comes to solving crime and keeping our community safe? Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Warren. We're going to talk about that right now on the Well Said podcast with Sheriff Rick Wells.
Welcome back, Randy.
Good to be back.
Good to be.
Where was
good,
I?
I don't know. I don't know. We're here.
We're back.
We're back together.
We're
back together. Back
Well
in our
Said
studio. Yeah,
Yes.
it's only Thursday, and it's been a busy week. So glad to be able to sit down here and take a few minutes to talk about something that's very important to us. We have our senior aviation pilot Ben Sehorne with us today, and it's like you said, people love our helicopters.
They're beautiful.
Some hate our helicopters because they're trying to run from us, and Ben's up there, pointing us in the right direction. But they do so much, and they are such a value to the work that the men and women do on the road, that when they're not around, man, we miss them. And we're always looking for, that pilot, where y'all at? Because we got something going on. We need you now. So glad to have Ben with us and to
In
kind
his
of
flight
pick his
suit.
brain. Yeah, look, I mean, he's ready to go. He flew here. So
Parked on the roof.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard him coming in, and I was like, that must be Watch.
I think he flew here in his Tahoe, but we'll get to that later. So Ben, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here. I've seen the podcast, and I really like what's going on, and it's able to get exposure to our units out there and be able to explain to the citizens what we do on a daily basis.
That's been the goal, Ben, right? Not me talking. It's about highlighting the agency and all the outstanding people that we have here and what they do. And, once again, you and the Aviation Unit are a huge part of crime fighting here and other things. So I want to go back. How long have you been with the Manitou County Sheriff's Office?
Just over 30 years. Been with the Aviation Unit full-time for 28 years. Been a mission pilot for 26.
When did you become a pilot, though?
I became a pilot in 2001.
And what drove you to that point to make that decision? What, because you're on the road, right? You're working calls. You're a deputy, doing what deputies do. So
It's flying is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always been fascinated by helicopters and flying. I didn't have the grades or the eyesight to do it in the military, so when I got on with the sheriff's office, that's was my second best endeavor, and I was able to get my foot in the door once I went to a special D unit and was able to start flying as a TFO, or a tactical flight officer, running the camera system, running the spotlight, communicating with the men and women on the ground. And I was able to slowly build, flight hours in Charlie Wells, came to Colonel Hageman at the time and said, if your people don't have their license, then they can't fly our aircraft, even for training. So they would send me out to a flight school to get my base certifications, and the rest is history. 2005, we had a pilot opening, and I had just enough time to become a mission pilot, and was able to slide into that role, and it's been a dream career ever since.
And that was like an online course. You just learned and watched some YouTube videos, right?
It a little bit before YouTube, but it did a little bit of reading, and they were able to send me to a local flight school and just get my base requirements to build upon, and was able to build upon that with the expertise we had in house at the time. Our old pilot Steve Wellman, he kind of took me under his wing and showed me a lot, and was able to build upon what I learned, and was able to make
being a law enforcement pilot, it's got to be a little different than being a commercial pilot, correct?
It is. The workload is a lot more than a standard pilot would operate. It gets to a point where you almost have to be able to fly the helicopter without thinking about flying the helicopter, because your attentions are diverted so much, especially in high stress situations like, a vehicle pursuit, a missing child, Alzheimer's patient, missing boater. and you have to have the communication skills to uh, communicate with your TFO or tactical flight officer because the whole purpose is to set that person up in a position where they can do their job. I'm just the bus driver at this point, but you have to be able to fly the aircraft, communicate with them, communicate with air traffic control, as well as other aircraft. And so you definitely get pulled in a lot of directions, and you have to be able to, like I said, be able to fly the helicopter without thinking about flying the helicopter. So it definitely, especially, depending on the type of calls, we had one fairly recently where we ended up at MacDill Air Force Base, talking to all the different air traffic controllers, flying in an unfamiliar area. The workload gets pretty high.
That had to have been a little chaotic.
It was very chaotic. Because,
You're talking to Tampa, MacDill, both, right? Or
well, it started out talking, well, we were talking to originally Albert Whidden, which is South St. Pete. They referred us over to Tampa. We get to Tampa's airspace. Once we get a little bit farther north, we actually have to switch to another sector of Tampa. Then we start getting close to St. Pete Clearwater. We have to go over to St. Pete Clearwater. The suspect drives across the Gandy Bridge. Now we have to go back to Tampa. And of course, the runways at Tampa, they're landing aircraft over top of us while we're down chasing this car. And, we got to the point where now we have to go to talk to MacDill. And even though the airspace for MacDill is a general airspace, you still want to be able to communicate with a military installation when you're flying over to the top.
And now you're a ways from home base and you're checking your fuel.
That's correct. We got to a point where once they were able to take him into custody, we had to make a decision. Are we going to be able to make it back, or do we need to divert to Tampa, put on a few pounds of fuel to be able to get back? And, obviously, it worked out. But, obviously, fuel is a definite concern for us on every flight because we can't just pull over to the side of the road.
I find fuel to be very important. Do you not?
It tends
that's
to be.
Just me. Not knowing too much about helicopters.
That red light's going off.
Yeah. The only time you have too much fuel is if you're on fire. That's the only time you have too much fuel.
So Ben, let's talk about a normal day. You come to work. I think now you're working 4P, 5 to 5 now.
Yes, sir.
What does a normal day for Ben Sehorne, senior pilot, look like?
First thing when we get in is we communicate with the mechanic. First thing I do every day when I come in is I contact the mechanic, make sure that there's no issues with the aircraft. Has he done any type of maintenance? Has he done any tweaks, adjustments, whatever it may be? So we get in, we communicate with our TFOs because aviation is all about communication. Talk to him. What's the plan for tonight? Because he's responsible for communicating with all of our specialty units, patrol, tracking the crime trends to find out where we're going to be needed. So we come up with the general game plan. That usually takes a few minutes, then straight to the aircraft. We do a detailed pre-flight every day, even though the mechanic's been looking at the aircraft. We're still responsible for doing a pre-flight. We go over all the systems, making sure everything is as it should be. At the same time, our TFOs are doing a pre-flight on their mission equipment as well. So we have redundancy. We want the TFOs to take it upon themselves to look over the aircraft as well, because the more sets of eyes that look at something, the better chances you have of finding an issue. And safety is always our primary concern.
And explain what a TFO is for those
that
don't
tactical
know.
Flight Officer.
Okay, so that's the deputy that's on board with you.
Yes,
You're
sir.
flying, and you got a deputy right next to you.
Correct. We always fly a crew of 2, and we have a split cockpit. And I'll get into that here in just a minute. His primary job is the communications with the men and women on the ground, to run the dual sensor camera system that we have, that was our bread and butter, and to assist me in safe operation of the aircraft, whether it be airspace or conflict resolution with other aircraft. They're actually the talent, the TFOs. They're the ones that do the work. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm just the bus driver. I just put them in a position to where they can do their job. Once we get our pre-flight done, we sometimes we play fire department. Sometimes we have to wait until a call goes out, or uh, certain crime trend timeframes come into play. If we have a set of burglaries between 6 and 10 p.m., we're going to schedule our flights around 6 and 10 p.m. Because we are, I don't want to say limited on flight time, but we have to be, frugal with our flight time because, the things are expensive to operate. So we plan them out accordingly. So we get a game plan on what's going on. And we're always monitoring the radio because our primary job, hands down, is to support the men and women on the ground. So if we go up and, just do standard patrols and we're out of fuel and then the men and women on the ground need us, well, now we're not available because we have to go back and get fuel. So it's a lot of communication with the units that we support, which are pretty much all of them.
Yeah, so you see it on social media, and we'll get phone calls or emails. Why is the helicopter flying around my house? I mean, there's always a purpose, right, Ben?
Yes.
There's always a reason. It's either a crime trend or you're assisting the deputies as we were looking for, a bad guy, a missing person. Who knows what the case is? But like you said, you're not up there just flying around just for the heck of it.
We don't joyride. Everything that we're doing, if we're up in the air, we're looking, just like a deputy would be on the ground. Our vantage point is just a little bit different. During the holiday seasons, we're paying attention to the shopping malls. We're scanning the shopping malls to make sure that there's nobody going car to car breaking into things. If we're flying around at 2:00 in the morning, we check neighborhoods for cars that are just, slow rolling through the neighborhood with no lights on. And the call volume, we assist on pretty much anything you can think of, whether like missing persons, Alzheimer's patients, missing boaters, suspicious circumstances, vehicle pursuits, homicide. We assist, crime scenes, SWAT. SWAT may need pictures for a search warrant they have coming up, or, CID detectives, may have a crime trend, say, hey, there's somebody doing smash and grabs at the convenience stores between 3 and 4. So we do, a lot of assists,
right?
Whether it
You
be
get
the Marine
a
unit.
wide view is really what it's all about.
That is one of the huge benefits about the aviation unit is we can. It may take 3 deputies 30 minutes to scan a field in a wood line for a missing persons. We can see the entire field, and the wood line takes us a little bit longer just because of the obstructions, but we can have it cleared in 5 minutes. So just the field of view we have is so vast that we can cover so much more area than a standard deputy could on foot or in a vehicle.
And as you're looking at it, and I don't mean to get ahead because I know you're going to bring this up, but the camera, the heat seeking, the FLIR, all of that is part of that technology that, like you're saying, if you're looking at a field and you see exactly where he's at because it stands out.
That is our bread and butter. That's what makes us so successful on top of the skill of our TFOs would be the camera system. We run a dual sensor camera system. One mode is daytime camera. Think of a high-end cell phone stabilized camera. And the other side of that would be the thermal imaging camera. That is where night doesn't matter to us because it sees on the infrared spectrum. So our primary use is called white hot. So the hotter an object is, the whiter it is, the colder it is, the darker it is. So it can be pitch black, no moon, no anything. It does not affect us at all. You will stand out in the middle of a field. And we love following people who smoke, people who drink, because the heat just coming off a cigarette looks like a big beacon in the night when we're following somebody. Same thing with, cars. You can see the cars that have been run hard and the ones that haven't just because the temperature of the brakes, the temperature of the engine, it really stands out the hotter an object is, which is also nice, when you're doing searches on the water at nighttime because boat motors put out heat. with that on the water, you have a nice uniform temperature where if we're searching the area, we see this beacon in the night just out there bobbing along. It makes it a lot easier to locate than it would be with just a spotlight or even night vision.
And why you always say you can run, but you can't hide.
Correct. You can go to jail tired, but our success rate is pretty good once we get eyes on.
You would think all the people, all the bad guys that see thousands of videos that are out there, when you've got these pilots tracking down in the middle of the night, and us getting to enjoy, watching the dog come in and do his thing, that they would not run from a helicopter. I mean, sometimes they don't know they're up there, but you got to know they're coming, right? You got to know.
The majority of the time, once we're there, they don't hear us because that adrenaline is going so much that they're not paying attention. If we're really trying to be covert, you're not going to see us. You're not going to hear us because we will be several miles away watching you. And
that's a good thing.
It is. And, if we're watching you, chances are you're doing something you're not supposed to. Our job is to not track and be the big brother in the sky. If we're looking for you, chances are you did something to deserve.
Ben, we were talking, you've been on over 30 years. I'm going on 42 years. We've seen a lot of changes. Aviation being, something that we didn't enjoy back in the day when we were on the road. I mean, when I just look at pursuits and how we can use aviation to take over a pursuit and back the deputies off, right? Making it safer for them and also for the public. That's a huge advantage for us. And you guys just coast in there and you let us know where they stopped and where they're bailing to. That to me is probably the greatest asset that we have. I mean, just backing off, man, because population, the traffic, pursuits, are dangerous. So having you guys up there is really just so good for us to know that we don't have to follow this guy at 100 miles an hour all the way to, who knows where, like McDill.
And by the way, that guy, tell us about that. He bails out of the car and K9 is there. He gets caught.
Yes, sir. It's the fox and the rabbit scenario. The harder you chase the bad guys, the faster they're going to run. With us overhead, we're able to maintain a visual. The blue lights go away. The bad guy reduces his drive. So, and chances are, especially a stolen vehicle, that vehicle is the crime. So a lot of times, as soon as the deputies turn their lights off, they want to distance themselves from the crime, the stolen vehicle. So our main job is to keep an eye on him. And as soon as he goes to ground or exits the vehicle, bring in the support units, bring the deputies to set up a perimeter, bring the K9 in to do what the K9 does best. And that's apprehend bad guys. So we will, keep an eye on the suspect and, we will assist the K9 and he's going to be, 100 feet off 100 feet in front of you, 50 feet in front of you. Now the deputy or the K9 will actually, do what they do and, issue challenges and, give the suspect every opportunity to give up. And if they get up and take off running again, the deputy has time. He's not having to run blindly around a corner, run blindly into, the group of trees, because once we have you, chances of us losing you're going to be.
And it's impressive, Sheriff.
No, it is.
Those TFOs that are saying, no, to your right, about 15 yards. Keep going. He's right in front of you because they can't see him, but you can because of the technology.
It's crazy to see some of the body cam video from the deputies on scene versus what we see. And one of the things that, our TFOs, we have to realize is it looks a lot different down on the ground than it does from the air. We may be able to see you perfectly, well in 6 foot tall grass. Well, all the deputy sees is grass, because the bad guy's laying down. The deputy can't see him, especially at nighttime, with a flashlight, they're shining the lights in there. It reflects off the grass. we've had instances where the dog is literally, a foot from the bad guy, and the responding deputies can't see him because we're looking down. They're trying to look across the obstacles. So that's one of the things that we really have to.
And well, the safety aspect of all that, they could tell you do have a weapon. They can alert the deputies, hey, stand down, wait, we see a gun. We see, something in their hand. We don't know, but there's something in the suspect's hand. So just having them up there taking care of the men and women, down below, that's a huge advantage for us, because as you know, there have been cases when law enforcement officers have been ambushed as they're looking for someone, and having Ben and Ray and our spotters up there, and everybody's paying attention to what's going on. That's a huge advantage for us. Let's talk about the aircraft. And, go back, because when you first started, it looked a little different than what it looks like now. We've been able to purchase 2 Bells over the last 10 years. So talk about where we've come as far as the aircraft, but also why you believe it's important that we have 2.
Well, back in the mid-'90s, we is when the Manatee County Sheriff's Office really started getting serious about aviation. We were able to get some assistance through the military government under the 1033 Military Surplus Program, and we were able to get 2 Bell OH-58s, military surplus. One was a 1972, one was a 1971. They were workhorses, and we were able to, and as did a lot of different agencies throughout the county, able to get their foot in the door into the aviation world. And once people started seeing the benefit, as those aircraft became older and older, they were able to procure new aircraft, which is what we did. In 2001, we got a Eurocopter EC-120. We got rid of one of our military surplus. So we had an old and a new. Spring forward to 2017, that 1972 OH-58 is now 45 years old. So we were able to procure the Bell 407, and we looked at different options, and the sheriff, to his credit at the time, says, don't settle. We need to get what we need to get. We need to get the equipment we need. So this is where we want to go. And we were able to, like I said, procure the Bell 407, which is top of the line machine. It will do anything that we ask it to do. If we need to take K9, we can take K9. If we need to take SWAT, we can take SWAT. It is a very, very capable aircraft. And we're very fortunate to have it. It's a beautiful aircraft. It's up to date technology, the safety equipment that it has, everything from the traffic collision avoidance detection systems to the onboard radar, weather radar, where we can monitor the radar. Because as you know, here in Florida, weather changes from minute to minute. So that becomes very vital. In 2021, we were able to procure the Bell 505, which is in its own right is a top of the line piece of equipment, just not as capable as the 407. It is a perfect patrol ship for a pilot, a TFO, a full tank of gas, and to be able to do patrols at a more economical level than the 407. But the 407 is the workhorse, hands down. If anything special that needs to be done, whether it be, taking county commissioners or emergency services for disaster response, damage assessment for after the storms, it'll, like I said, it will do anything we ask it to do.
Yeah, you've flown senators, congressmen, anybody.
A lot.
Yeah.
We've flown just, about everybody for every reason, everything from the school board to use the thermal for leak detection on schools where they thought they had a water leak. We were able to get up there and to assist the fire department for, fires, house fires, hot spots. We pretty much do quite a bit, and the equipment we have is the best that we could ask for. They really are. Both of them are equipped with the thermal imaging camera. Both are equipped with a spotlight. And one of the pieces of equipment that can't be overlooked is our mapping system.
I was going to say that. I love that.
That
is the coolest program.
And it was even working outside of Manatee County.
It will work nationwide. We have what's called ARS, or augmented reality system, where we can look at a picture on the camera system of Manatee County, Cortez, and 41. Well, with the ARS system, it will actually overlay the street names onto the live video. So when we're chasing a bad guy, we have real-time information on where they're located. And it's not a tracking software. It's whatever is on the screen is displayed. Like I said, it works nationwide. So it doesn't matter if we go into Sarasota County, Hillsborough County, Tampa, we have real-time information on where the bad guy is located based on what we're looking at on the screen.
Because the TFO, you as a pilot, you're not familiar with that space, the ground or even the airspace.
Well, with the growth in Manatee County alone, trying to keep up with all of the new named streets, all of the new neighborhoods, now they dip into Sarasota, Hillsborough. There's, in the old days, you would have to count streets on the areas that you knew. If not, you'd have to pull out a map. And to follow a bad guy on the camera system while pulling out a map book and trying to communicate with the men and women on the ground, it was a lot harder than it is now with the current technology. It makes our life much easier. So
then trying to fold those maps back up, remember that?
They flying out the window. It's just, it's a mess. So the technology today that we're fortunate enough to have really is top of the line, and the way that serves the people of Manatee County is.
And people love seeing these helicopters, which we're able to bring them out to different community events. And people always brag about it. And I know you're proud of them too. It's impressive. You see the 407's a little fancier, maybe a good way of putting it. And then you've got the 505. They're both still beautiful to see. And I know I geek out every time I get a chance to fly with you.
To this day, I've been doing this for a while, and just to see the equipment and where we've come, how far we've come with the equipment, and it still boggles my mind. And, we can't be thankful enough that the sheriff has always, the previous sheriffs as well, have understood the need for the aviation unit and supported us the way they have.
It was important for me when we were looking at purchasing the new aircrafts. It's like, Ben, you guys got to tell me. You got to fly this thing every day. You got to be happy with it. I don't know beans about a helicopter, right? So you tell me what you need, and what's the best. I'm not trying to put something up there that has got a 3-star rating. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's get the best, because you guys you have a heck of a workload, and we call on you for a lot. So let's make sure that you're in something that.
And they said we need air conditioning.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
We haven't always had air conditioning.
Correct.
We have That's very important.
Going back to those old ones, yeah.
And the beautiful thing about helicopters is, and we have a full-time mechanic as well, that his sole responsibility is to maintain the aircraft. And if maintained properly, like ours are, like the military surplus, it was 40-something years old. So these things will last a long, long time. So the return on investment is huge if well maintained, which ours are. So the bang for the buck, you can't beat it. And like I said, once again, we're very fortunate to have the equipment and the opportunities that we do to be able to go out and do patrol flights, especially during the holiday seasons and the needed times. We're not just a reactive unit. We're able to be proactive.
Besides two helicopters, two beautiful helicopters, as we've described, you've got multiple pilots, and how many deputies, total staff in the aviation unit?
We have a full-time sergeant, and we were able to expand the size of the unit this year. So now we have 3 full-time pilots, 3 full-time TFOs, or tactical flight officers, and we cover a lot of ground for the personnel that we have. We're 7 nights a week, from 4 to 4 or 5 to 5, and 5 days a week for day shift. So, and that, even though that's our schedule, it's not always set in stone because we do follow the crime trends. If there are burglary trends early in the morning, we adjust our schedule to accommodate those. So for the amount of personnel that we have, we cover a lot of time. So we're on call 24/7.
Well, Ben was talking about as far as a mechanic and maintaining the aircraft and the return on the investment. For me, the return on this investment is the amount of crime they solve in this county and how they go about each and every day, not only assisting and supporting the men and women on the road, but just the crime they solve themselves, which doesn't get talked about enough. But that's my return. I want to talk to you about one last thing. I know we're getting tight. I want to talk to you about lasers, the impact that it has on a pilot, why people think it's funny, and why they don't understand that it could be a catastrophic event, right? For a pilot not to be able to see.
It's kind of important. It really is. A lot of people view lasers as toys. They don't realize that those lasers will go miles and miles. You can hit an aircraft, and what a lot of people don't understand is when that laser hits the windshield of an aircraft, it refracts, and it will light up the entire cockpit green, blinding green, to a point where you cannot see anything.
What do you do, Ben, when that happens? How do you get out of that?
First thing I do is we will put the aircraft in a position to where the laser is on the TFO side. Our first priority is to try and locate where this item, the laser is coming from. So obviously the safety of the aircraft is the utmost importance. So I will put myself in a position to where I don't have to worry about getting directly hit head on. And just because we find the person doesn't always lead to an arrest. Sometimes it's education. So, we leave it up to the men and women on the ground to investigate once we put them on the perpetrator to determine whether or not is this malicious or does it need to be an education. I employ people out there that give lasers to young children or that are experimenting with them. Don't shine them at a helicopter.
Good education is out there, folks. It's against the law. Don't do it.
Not only local law, but federal law.
Thank you, Ben. Ben has the best view of any office in the sheriff's office, too. He's seen his sunsets, sunrises.
Best job in the agency, too.
That's great.
Well, you're the right man for the job, Ben. And I know that, as we talked about earlier, you still have a little bit of time, but your career is approaching the end. And you're gonna be very difficult to replace. Your leadership, your seniority, just your experience in that helicopter. We've been friends for a long time, so that's one of the sad things for me is when not only are you a good friend, but a great pilot.
It's been a storybook career, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity.
Well, Ben, thank you for everything that you have done for us, your community. We really do appreciate all the work that you put into making us one of the best aviation units in the state.
That's well said. Thanks for joining us for Sheriff Rick Wells and our guest, pilot and deputy Ben Sehorne. I'm Randy Warren. We'll talk to you next time.